So if you go over here and you look in your circle on the opposite side on page 27, I want you to write, you can see your anterior sacrum is flexed. Your posterior inlet is in iliosacral internal rotation. Your anterior inlet is in iliopubo external rotation. And the right side is the same. So from my sacral base to my ASIS bilaterally is being what? Pulled apart. My anterior inlets this is being pulled forward. These are being pulled together. The arrows are coming together in the front. The arrows are being pulled apart in the back. The rectus femoris and sartorius are pulling them what? Forward. So my posterior inlets are going to be what? Off. They're long and weak. My arrows are being pulled together positionally from the front because my ASIS is being pulled forward. So my rectus femoris and my sartorius are going to be on. So now we know what muscles are back there. We discussed that. If you guys want to write them in again, you can. Your iliacus, remember, is posteriorly. And anteriorly would be your rectus femoris and your sartorius. So your anterior inlets are on, and your posterior inlets are off. If we go back and we look at our outlet in a PEC pattern, if my front side is being pulled forward and going to ischiopubo external rotation, my back side has to be going into ischiopubo internal rotation. So it's going into flexion, adduction, and internal rotation. It's being pulled together. They have tight butt syndrome. You see that back there? But look, their sacrum, you guys, isn't going from one side to the other. My sacrum in the inlet is going into flexion, but in my outlet it's going into extension. And if this is going into flexion, same bone, this is going into extension, my tailbone has to curl under me, and I have to go into flexion, and guess what I sit on? Tailbone pain. I don't sit on my ischial tuberosity that's meant to take weight. It's being pulled in. I have to now sit on a tailbone all day when I sit in front of that computer and work. So your anterior outlets are going to be what? Off. Your posterior outlet is going to be on. You have your position on page 28. If you go to your circle on page 29, your anterior outlet is going into ischiopubo internal rotation. It's going into flexion, adduction, and internal rotation. You don't have to write anything back here because your sacrum can no longer has a transverse plane. You don't have SIIR or SIER because your sacrum is stuck in a sagittal plane. So you're going to see how your sacrum is extended and your coccyx is flexed. We move the bar down here because this is going to be long and open. And their center of gravity is going to be coming forward in the inlet and back in the outlet. So your anterior outlets are going to be off, and your posterior outlets are going to be on. So my pelvic floor, remember, I taught you that if you have an outlet that is stuck in adduction, and this is being pulled close, your anterior outlet is going to be more what? Descended. They have pelvic floor pressure. How do you hold up organs? It's in a lengthened position. They now have to use their lengthened adductors and their back to try to help pull up their anterior outlet. Because their outlet is in a position to help to support pressure, gas, internal organs. It's in a descended position. Those muscles can't help to support them. So here's your summary. Your inlet bilaterally is an iliopubo-external rotation. Your inlet is an iliosacral internal rotation. So we're going into external rotation anteriorly, abduction, internal rotation back here. They're getting compressed in their SI joint. And their outlet, your ischium is moving into internal rotation, adduction, and extension. When you adduct your outlet, your pelvic floor is going to be descended. It's going to be hypertonic and inflexible. They have a lot of tone. They feel like stuff is falling out. Have a lot of pressure. This is why you can have a 6'5" volleyball player that can jump 2 inches off the floor. My pelvic floor comes up, I'm going to have more power to jump higher. If I have pressure and I'm bearing down, how do you jump higher? How do you get a bigger vertical? How do you walk forward? Any questions with the PEC pattern?